G'day guys and welcome back to another One Piece deck profile. Today we're going to be checking out EB01 and first of all probably the best new leader out of EB01, which is Kazuki Oden. Now for those of you that don't know, let's take a look at the beautiful alt art and we'll check out Kazuki Oden. So he's a dual color leader, red and green, starts with 5,000 power and 4 life. The effect is all of your land of 1/0 type characters without a counter have 1,000 counter according to the rules, which is really nice. So pretty much your whole deck does have some sort of counter. Then the other part of the effect is Don times 1 when attacking. If you have a land of 1/0 type character with a cost of 5 or more, this leader gains 1,000 power until the start of your next turn. So you're basically kind of turning into a Whitebeard, which is really good. And you can bump it up to a bit higher as well with the Whitebeard, which we see back there, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But Oden is a bit of an aggressive deck. You like to get nice big swings in all the time. And a deck you probably, for most matchups, you probably do want to go second. There's some good plays that you can make with 4 Don, but otherwise just try and throw your opponent off their curve. The deck does struggle going into like the big top meta decks, which is why this is probably not going to be a really big contender. Yeah, anything that like removes things quite easily or bottom decks things quite easily, this deck does struggle against with. But if you're playing against something that struggles with removal, you're usually in a pretty good position. Now with you being a bit aggro, you can beat those top meta decks if they don't see their pieces at the right time. You can just out aggro them. So you definitely can get some good wins against Sakazuki, against Gecko Moria, and against the big bad yellow decks out there as well. Alright, first of all, let's take a look at some cards that really help you activate your leader's ability that you usually want to see in your hand. So first of all, running a full playset of Hayori, which is from EB01, a 4 cost character, no power, 1,000 counter. Activate main, you can trash this character, play 1 land of 1/0 type character with a cost of 5 or less other than itself from your hand, then draw 1. That draw 1 is really good. But basically all the characters we'll look at next are the characters that you do want to play off Hayori. So this is that turn 2 play I was talking about. When you go second, you have a 4 Don, you play out the Hayori, then you can play out a 5 cost character and begin your streak as a 6,000 power leader. First of all, let's take a look at Izo. So this is another new one from EB01, cost you 5, 7,000 body. No counter, but we gain a counter because of Oden's effect, which is nice. On play, give 1 rested Don to a leader or character. So really good, you play it out with the Hayori. On that 4 Don turn, you play the Izo, and then you get to attach the Don here, swing, and you go to that 6,000 body leader, which is really nice. And the other part of the effect is on your opponent's attack once per turn, you can trash 1 card from your hand. If your leader is land of 1/0 or Whitebeard type Spire, give one of your opponent's characters or leaders minus 2,000 power during the turn. So it makes like some of your bigger cards that aren't land of 1/0 type always have a counter as well. So virtually every card in your deck will have a counter, which is absolutely fantastic. Otherwise you can turn some of your 1k counters into 2k counters essentially. Next up, we are running a full playset of another new card, which is Yamato. 5 cost, 5,000 body, 2k counter. Activate main once per turn, give one of your rested Don cards to your leader or character. So great, just Don manipulation there. Very similar to the Izo. You can play it off Hayori, and then you can use Yamato's effect to attach to Oden, and you're beginning your streak at that 6k power leader. And this one you can get multiple times off because it is activate main, not an on play like Izo, so you can always get that Don manipulation happening. So I do find myself playing the Yamato out quite a lot and not really using it as a 2k counter. The only time I'd really use it as a 2k counter is if I have one on board already. Next up, we're running a full playset of Denjuro. This is from OP01, 5 cost, 7,000 body. The effect is Don times 1 when attacking. If your leader is Kazuki Oden, set 2 of your Don cards as active. This card is actually really insane. The stat power out there, 5, 7 power, is just absolutely insane. If you have the Denjuro out and the Yamato out at the same time, you're constantly going to get 2 free Don, which is absolutely insane. You play a character, you use Yamato to attach the Don to the Denjuro, you swing, and then you got 2 Don available. You can attach your leader or to some of your other characters. And it doesn't have a counter, but your Oden, your leader effect does make it have a counter. Next up, we are running just 3 copies of the secret rare Yamato from OP01. This card's just really good. A lot of the time it is just removed, but if it sticks on board, it's just absolutely insane. The pressure that this thing gives is, wild. 5 cost, 5,000 body, 1,000 counter, double attack, banish. Absolutely crazy. Really good into the yellow decks, really good into the later game as well. If you've been focusing on like clearing board, if you're versing a deck that likes to play a lot of characters, this can help you catch up if you're not really touching your opponent's life too much there. And then last of all, we're running 3 copies of Mountain God, 5 cost, 7,000 body, 1,000 counter, Land of Wano type. So all of these characters, except for the Hayori, will trigger that part of your Oden's effect. So if they're on board and you swing, you're going up to 6k or 7k on your attack and then 6k on your opponent's turn. Now this card here is a bit of a flex spot. I'm not still 100% set on running the Mountain God, but it is a good card. Other things you can run in its place there could be your Yamato from your OPO2, 4 cost, 6,000 body. On play, you rest something with a cost of 6 or less. You can also run the Rush Luffy in that spot as well. Or you can run something like Punk Gibson in there, another like a event in there. But for now, we're happy with this, just another body that can help you trigger out your Oden's ability. All right, next up, we're running 3 copies of Ryuma. So Ryuma is a 4 cost, 6,000 body on play and on KO. KO one of your opponent's arrested characters with the cost of 4 or less. So this one can be good in depending on what kind of matchup if you're versing a very aggro matchup, this card's really good. If you see some of your cards that help you rest, which we'll talk about in a moment as well, you can do a nice combo there. Otherwise, yeah, you can drop one of these as well to run more. The Yamatos, which we talked about, the ones that we don't have in the deck, the one that rests as well, if you find you're running into a lot of decks that you just need to rest and swing into things. Next up, we're looking at 2k counters. We've got 4 copies of Otama, 1 cost, 0 power, 2k counter on play, minus something by 2,000 power. Most of the time is just use that 2k counter, otherwise really good at helping reduce some of those big bad boys, so you can swing into them. Next up, we're running Ezo. Ezo is actually really good in this deck. 3 cost, 3,000 body, 2,000 counter. On play, you can rest something with a cost of 4 or less. There's a way that we can cheat out Ezo, which we'll talk about in just a moment as well. And in terms of like the big boys for your Land of Wano that we're running 3 copies of the Kazuki Oden character from OPO2. 8 cost, 8,000 body, active main once per turn. Rest 3 Don, set this character as active, so you get a nice double attack there. And then on KO, you can play 1 green Land of Wano type character with a cost of 3 from your deck, then shuffle your deck. Basically, your only target is the Ezo back here. So when Oden does die, you can play out the Ezo, rest something, and usually Sakazuki or your black decks are really good at taking out the Oden, but then you get to rest one of their characters as well, because a lot of their characters are in that threshold, which is really good for you. Has come in clutch quite a few times in those black decks. You can rest one of their blockers, which sometimes they don't really expect, which can play into your favor quite a lot. And then for the searches for the deck, we're running 4 copies of Momo from OPO1. This searches everything that we have seen so far. The remaining cards in the deck are the cards that are not searchable, but anything else is searchable by the Momo, which is really good. So for those who don't know, Momo costs you 1. You got to rest a Don, and then you look at the top 5, reveal it 1 Land of Wano type, add it to your hand, the rest go to your bottom deck in any order. All right, next we're going to look at, I guess, the spicy text in the deck. First of all, we're running 3 copies of Edward Newgate. 9 cost, 10,000 body on play. Your leader gets a 2,000 buff. And the other part of the effect is Don times 2 when attacking KO one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. So the first part of the effect is really good, especially if you have a way to add a Don to Oden, or if he's 10 Don turn, you can add a Don to Oden, and Oden will become an 8k leader, which is just wild. So it's basically Whitebeard. And that second part of effect is really good into those decks that like to run the small blockers. So black likes to run the Rebecca's. You got a bunch of green decks that like to run the small blockers as well. So that's really good for those. Otherwise, you can take out late game searches. But most of the time, really good for taking out those blockers. Next up, we're running 4 copies of Rad Beam, which is basically our defensive option for the deck. Cost you 1, buff something by 2k unless you're at 2 or less life, then you buff something by 4k. And the trigger is you can buff your leader by 1,000 power for the turn. And then rounding off the deck, we're running 3 copies of Hody Jones, absolute MVP in the deck. It's won me so many games, people just don't expect it. 7 cost, 8,000 body, rush on play, you can rest 2 of your opponent's characters and or Don, and then you add the top card of your life. Great game finisher for the deck. All right, there is the deck in all of its glory. Let us know what you think of it. Let us know if there's anything you do differently, but we've been having a lot of fun running Kazuki Oden. Keep your eyeballs peeled and your subscription buttons clicked for the other leaders' deck profiles for EB01. Thank you guys for checking out the video again. Stay beautiful, and we'll see you all in the next one.